These are your evening headlines for February 27th, 2026, right here on BYU-Idaho Radio. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Kimber Pierce. A new private micro school will open this year in Eastern Idaho. Rooted Meadows School uses something called the Waldorf method for teaching students. Rachel Sparhawk is the founder of the school. Beginning in the early 1900s, the Waldorf education method became the largest independent school movement in the world. It is a holistic, individualized approach that focuses on intellectual, physical, and artistic growth through creative means.
It becomes very intentional and very meaningful. It is based on what is age appropriate according to what the child is needing to learn and how they learn best at that age.
Rooted Meadows will be different than a standard private Waldorf school, offering lower costs through a hybrid homeschool teaching system.
In short, the core classes would be taught by the certified Waldorf teachers, and those are the main lesson where they learn science, math, the language arts, social studies, and history, while the extracurricular classes are taught by parents and volunteers.
Rooted Meadows plans to offer a shorter school day, 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., 4 days a week, with an extended year. The school also will have an emphasis on agriculture and farming with a farm-to-table program.
From kindergarten to 8th grade, they're going to be learning and working in gardens, on the farm, learning how using stuff from the garden and farms for cooking, for fiber arts, construction with natural materials, things like that.
Rooted Meadows School is holding a scavenger hunt across Rexburg and Idaho Falls with help from local businesses. The Where's Waldorf scavenger hunt begins in March. Posters have been placed in local storefronts with clues to answer, what is Waldorf education? Participants who find all 10 clues and fill out a completion form will have the chance to win various prizes. You can find enrollment information, details about the Waldorf approach, and more information about the school on their website, rootedmeadowsschool.org. You can listen to the full interview with Rachel Sparhawk on our podcast feed. Just follow BYU-Idaho Radio on your favorite podcast app. This week, all candidates for the Idaho State Senate and House of Representatives hoping to get on the ballot in November filed their candidacy with the Secretary of State's office. Simon Simpson has the story.
Although the 2026 November elections may seem far away, with the legislative session potentially more than halfway over, the elections are closer than ever. Democratic Representative Monica Church of Boise and Republican Senator Kevin Cook of Idaho Falls joined me to talk about their campaigns for the upcoming election. Representative Church introduced a bill this session that would make risk assessments by homeowners insurance more accurate. She said the legislation was inspired by one of her constituents.
I know more than I ever thought I would in time about insurance. And that was because it was brought to me by Joanne. And this was all the way back in late 2024, my election, and showing the grit to take an issue, work it to its solution.
Senator Cook said his main election priority is distributing new federal money from the One Big Beautiful Bill.
In the big One Beautiful Bill, President Trump did, that's House Bill number 1. In there's a rural transformation, rural health transformation part of it. Gives out $50 billion, that's with a B, $50 billion, and it's divided among all the states. Idaho is in line to get just under $1 billion. And it's to be used out in the rural area. So we've got lots of health problems in a rural area. We've got hospitals shutting down. And so this money is going to be used. And so I have a bill to create a committee that will look at that money and decide how to best use that.
This election cycle promises to be busy, and many hopeful candidates will start campaigning soon. The primary election is May 19th, with the general election on November 3rd. You can see who's filed for the election at voteidaho.gov. For BYU Radio, I'm Simon Simpson.
BYU-Idaho's campus events finished auditioning bands for the Battle of the Bands next week. Michael Pitcher and Livia Solorzano were among the campus events coordinators who judged the auditions.
Yeah, we're excited. This year's theme is rock, and so just any kind of rock, it really helps with all the bands because they each, none of them are they're all different in each their own way, but they all have their own theme of rock. And so it's going to be exciting to see like what their take on rock is.
Of the nearly 20 bands who auditioned, 8 were picked to come back and compete.
This year, we're really excited because we have a lot of different kind of vibes from each band. Like they all have like different things to bring to the table.
Some are new, like the Caddies, and some are returning from last year's battle, like Crimson Ridge. You can listen to our recent interview with Dahlia Ball, lead singer of last year's Battle of the Bands winner, Dahlia, on our podcast feed. Judging at the Battle of the Bands will be made up of 2 elements: audience noise levels and faculty judges. In order to hype up the crowds for the mini concert, Campus Events is holding a tailgate event before the competition starts.
And so the MCs are all going to be decked out with we're going to be in KISS costumes, and it's going to be awesome. We're going to have face paint. It's going to be great. We're trying to get everyone hyped.
Solorzano and Pitcher are excited to see what energy each of the bands bring.
They were definitely getting into it, and when we just had 3 or 4 judges and auditions in the Little Theater, so I can't imagine if we have a catwalk, haze machines, cold sparks, if we have all that, how much more they're going to get into it, interact with the crowd, and, really enjoy the event and make it theirs.
The Battle of the Bands event is Saturday, March 7th at 7 p.m. in the Hart Auditorium. Show up at 6:30 for the tailgate event. Tickets for the tailgate are included with tickets for Battle of the Bands, $3 with a BYU-I card or $5 without, so it is worth it to show up early at face paint and inflatable guitars. You can get tickets in person at the event. For BYU-Idaho Radio, I'm Kimber Pierce. These have been your BYU-Idaho Radio evening headlines for February 27th, 2026. Thanks for tuning in. More news, interviews, and great content are available on our podcast feed. Search for BYU-Idaho Radio on your favorite podcast apps. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and more. For BYU-Idaho Radio, I'm Kimber Pierce.